Good morning everyone, and welcome to this final step in our Future Roadshow Final Factory 2020. We started out on the 4th of November with the first event in Turkey. When we met the Turkey market and we had a very fruitful dialogue. We then moved to the UK on the 11th of November. On the 16th of December, we were in Algeria. We had a very long path that we've made together, and we are now opening our dialogue to the Russian market. Welcome to everyone, to all of you. One of my closest friends is also a son of a Russian teacher, so I'm very well aware that I will mispronounce all Russian names, so I'm very sorry about that, and I wanted to say that. So this is leading us to our Future Factory event in 2022, and we are preparing to that event. But today we are focusing on Russia. We're opening our dialogue with Russia. And at every single event, what's most important is the contribution of the embassies where we are organizing our event and people we're talking to. So we have our first guest, who is Francesca Santoro, first counselor at the head of the Department for Economy and Trade of the Italian Embassy in Moscow. Welcome, you have the floor. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and to greet you on behalf of the Italian ambassador who is not in Russia today. We take care of the economic and trade cooperation between Italy and Russia, and it is very encouraging to see this strong interest of the Italian manufacturers for this country, a very important country for Italy. Extremely important as an extremely relevant trade partner. So let me give you very briefly just an outline of the reasons why, in spite of the political difficulties that we have to acknowledge and that have emerged lately between Russia and the EU, this is still a fundamental market for Italy and for Italian businesses. I'm not going to give you long lists of numbers because I'm well aware that there are many other people who can do this better than what I could do, but I'd like to give you just a few very general information. First of all, it is fundamental to remember that there is a complementarity between these two economic systems. Russia is a producer of raw materials. We have to think of fossil fuels, but that's not the only thing. We have also leather, we have wood. So it's a major exporter of raw materials, and Italy is an important manufacturer and converter or transformer. We also have a very strong tradition as exports to Russia is concerned. Italian products are very much loved in Russia. We have had a very stable position on the Russian market in spite of the difficulties of the last year. But there's not only economy. There's also a general side to it, which is a strong relationship between Italy and Russia. Russia is in love with the Italian culture, Italian traditions, and this is also reflected in the way Russian consumers buy. They love Italian products. They're iconic products for the Italian style, that this is quite obvious, that they are very easily linked to our Italian way of living. We can think about fashion or food, but there are also other products that are very much loved and bought from Russian consumers and businesses, which is machinery, because Italy has a strong know-how, has a strong tradition, and this is very much appreciated in Russia. Russia has also started out an important modernization of its industry since let's say 2014. This has been going on with a strong manufacturing tradition, and there's this new tendency to give new impetus to manufacturing, reducing the dependence from fossil fuels and hydrocarbon exports. In order to feed manufacturing, obviously machinery is important, and this is where chances are born for Italian businesses, as Italian businesses have a strong technological know-how that they can sell. Due to this modernization process, which is now going on, Russia also offers important chances for businesses who want to cooperate. I've seen that there are in our agenda many leaders of Italian industry and Italian businesses. We can think of Barilla, and who is one of the best examples. And this is extremely interesting for those businesses that want to present themselves as supplier of major Russian companies. If you're looking to find your position as a supplier of major Russian companies, this cooperation with the manufacturing industry in Russia is extremely interesting. The very final element is the macroeconomic system. Russia has kept all in all its position and its general situation in spite of the very difficult situation of the last year, thanks to the macro elements of its economy, the fundamentals of its economy. Its monetary policy had been very cautious and very far-sighted, and this has allowed Russia to support economy while keeping an eye on the budget, on the state budget. And while SMEs are relatively less important in Russia, and this is not good in the long run, yet it was an advantage in the short run when faced with this huge crisis that has hit both Russia and the world's economy. So considering all these factors, we think that Russia is an extremely interesting market for our businesses, and we believe that it is the smart thing to do to still focusing on Russia. The growth that is coming will be based and will give great advantages to Italian businesses based on their resilience. We know that Italian businesses are resilient, and we are ready to support businesses who are already present on the Russian market or want to open up their activities to the Russian market. So this is all that I wanted to say, and I really want to thank you very much, and I'm available for any questions if there's any. Thank you, Mrs. Santoro, First Counselor of the Italian Embassy in Moscow. Let's move to our second guest, the director at ICE in Moscow, Mr. Francesco Pensabene, for trade relationship and exchange. Thank you, Mr. Bordone, and good morning and welcome. Thank you to Acimga in particular. I want to greet Andrea Briganti, the Director General, as we have a very long cooperation and tradition of working together with Acimga. Data says very clearly that this is one of the most important industries for technological advancement in Italy and in the world. So I want to thank organizers for convening this very important event. As Councillor Santoro was saying, Russia is a fundamental market for Italy. Italy has closed the financial year 2020 being the 5th supplier on the market, with a 4.4% market share. It was 4.5%, I'm sorry, in 2019, which is only 1 year before, but it's a whole era before. So we're still very close to that share. As we were saying at the beginning, our export has been stable in spite of the dramatic contraction in demand. This has had an impact on the general value of exchange down from 22.5 billion in 2019 to 17.7 billion in 2020. And our export has also plummeted by 8.7%. Yet, I think it is important to remember that while we cannot ignore this negative trend, Italy is still very much present in Russia. And we've only, so to say, lost 8.7% compared to over 9.5% on the global stage. This shows that the Russian market is resilient and packaging industry is resilient, but it also shows that there's an inherent strength in Italian production, in Italian industry and manufacturing industry. It is really the beating heart of our export to Russia. 40.9% of our export, which is to say 8.9 billion euro, comes from instrumental mechanics, machinery, technology. This is our best selling point for Italy in Russia. And the future perspective is a perspective of cooperation with a market that is focusing very much on strengthening their manufacturing capacity. Cooperation with Italy, therefore, is strategical. It has a strategic importance because our country is also known as a stronghold of manufacturing and quality manufacturing, as quality is a distinctive trait of Italian production, especially in Russia. So 2021 is going to be a challenging year, but also a year for chances. Global value chains have changed, this is clear, and this means that businesses will have to rethink their activities on the market, especially when the market is hosting a very strong competition. This market is going to be transformed in the long run. This is also something we have to bear in mind. So, what's the value of packaging market in all of these? 13 billion euro turnover. And Italy has lost a part of its share. We're the second supplier after Germany with 19% in 2020. We used to be the first supplier in 2019 with sales over 200 million euros. And this actually came after a positive economic cycle with an incremental advantage of 14% compared to 2018. So there's an important loss in 2020 if compared to 2019, not only because of the contraction of demand. We've lost 35% of demand compared to 2019, but, and this is very interesting for our conversation today, and in the general theory of import substitutions, we are losing 35%, both for the contraction of the demand, as I was saying, that has hit international trade, but also because the market, the packaging market, the packaging system and Russian technology is advancing itself. So Italian technology is needed, Italian know-how is needed, and Italy is a fundamental partner for Russia, just like Russia is for Italy. The compound average growth rate for the next 3 years gives us a growth of 5% on the market. And this will be decided by the growing importance of industrial automation. This is also a message that I want to convey, because this can be a chance, a fundamental chance for our businesses. But what's the value of the packaging market for polymers, for paper, for metal, for wood or glass? This market has an overall value that is around 13 or 14 billion euro, but we should keep in mind three different elements. The first is this policy of substituting import, and Russia has taken that road, even if it is very soon to say that there's a clear effect, that there's been a shift, that there's been a clear shift in imports, but there's a hint of that. There's a trend that we can see. And then there's a second element, a new kind of packaging. And a growth in investment that is made on a large scale on the territory, on the Russian territory. I think that these three elements should be kept in mind if we want to start our marketing campaign in this new framework of global value chains, so that Italy is not bound to lose further market shares. I'll stop here, and I'm really sorry that I won't be able to participate to the whole event due to another event, but I really want to thank Mr. Briganti and Acimga. I want to thank and greet all businesses that are connected and all speakers, and I wish you a very fruitful work today. Thank you, Mr. Pensabene, the director of ICE in Moscow. He's been mentioned more than once that Andrea Briganti is the director of Acimga. And I'll now give the floor to Andrea Briganti. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your introduction of Acimga. Acimga has a very strong historical relationship with Russia. It has always been a very important trade partner with Russia. We have numerous promotion and activities in place. Today I will be very brief because I want to leave the floor to companies and to market representatives. We're here as a partner that Acimga, together with the Cartografica Association, we are the representative of the whole supply chain, together with Assografici and Assocarta in Italy. This is one of the steps that we are organizing to talk with markets dealing on the three topics of industrial production, which are fundamental today and expressing the value of companies, sustainability, digitalization, and servitization. That is to say, the ability of companies to provide services as well as products. We think that all producers of technology need to focus on these business models. This is a very important step for us to get closer to our international event that we organize every year, which is Future Factory, the Print for All event on the 10th and 11th of June in Milan. So we invite you all to participate in this event. It will then be followed by 4 international steps in the second part and second half of 2021, leading to the Print for All trade show organized with Fiera Milano. And shortly I will introduce Paolo Pizzocchero, the exhibition director and manager of Print for All at Fiera Milano. So as you can see, we want to focus, we want to provide contents to the supply chain. and leading to this very important trade show, which is because we think that trade shows should be opportunities also for training, for updating skills and knowledge, for joining companies, both exhibitors and visitors. So let me thank once again everyone the previous speakers, and also the Russian system, the Russian guests that are with us today. I think that this is an excellent format in the COVID era, but also in the post-COVID era, because this format will allow us to share contents more easily. And I think this is a winning format for the whole system, because we can share views with public institution representatives of the embassy, the Italian Foreign Trade Institute, and so we also have magazines and representatives of the local supply chains. And indeed, in our webinars, foreign representatives are matched by Italian counterparts, meaning that these webinars are not merely focused on our presence abroad, but of also important contents for the whole system of the whole printing and packaging industry. So thank you. I hope I was brief enough, and I'll now give the floor to Paolo Pizzoccaro, the exhibition director at Fiera Milano for Print for All. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I want to thank Acimga for inviting me to this very important event. My name is Paolo Pizzoccaro. I am the director of Print for All, the exhibition that is organized by Fiera Milano with Acimga and RG, and the next edition will take place from the 3rd to the 6th of May 2022 at Fiera Milano. I guess you're already familiar with this event. It's a rather young event. It only started off in 2018, but it has come on the radar of the international market thanks to the important results that it has obtained so far since the first edition. This is a very new, original format which has been completely rethought in terms of supply chain and synergy between technologies and contents. We have overcome the traditional vertical distinctions between sectors, and we wanted very much to propose a platform, Print for All platform, devoted to printing, comprehensive printing, converting, package printing, labeling, but also printing and communication, and above all, industrial printing. This proposal combines technological innovation, business networking, and also professional training. Again, this is a very important topic, the need to train operators. Therefore, our trade fair becomes an important opportunity for international visibility. Print for All aims at being a showcase for the most innovative solutions and products, thanks to the many innovations presented by the exhibiting companies. But it is also meant as a laboratory of content, ideas, and of the most important associations and publishers of the sector. And there will be important technical insights and in-depth market analysis aimed at assessing opportunities and risks of future scenarios at international level. Now let's take a look at some figures of the 2018 edition, showing how important it is. we had very important results. We were able to combine an offer of over 400 exhibitors from 26 countries. We attracted the interest of over 35,000 visitors from 84 countries, 21% visibility at international level, very important figures. Again, for a total exhibiting space of over 30,000 square meters. But the most significant aspect of our trade show is that in the present context, which is making reality even more challenging due to the emergency situations we are going through, we come across keywords, which are also the keywords of our trade show. Today we talk about digitalization, sustainability, the pillars of the industrial revolution of our modern times, disrupting our sector and also impacting the world of printing. These are going to be the two leading topics of 2022, aiming at providing an ideal environment to exhibitors to present their innovations. And above all, we want to give the opportunity to visitors to get updates on the market and have important business opportunities. The industry is called upon to evolve and to innovate, not only digitally. It doesn't just mean making their processes, their printing processes more efficient, but it means to be connected with the whole productive supply chain. In this way, you can be closer to customers, to providers, to suppliers, and to monitor all the production steps. They can also upgrade their services and maintenance, machinery maintenance, also remotely. Digitalization is not an option anymore. It is the new lexicon. It is a new language used by the industry. The industry 4.0, of course, is part of all this, and making it even more clear today in the present situation. How important this is. Sustainability doesn't just mean reducing environmental impact using eco-friendly inks and so on. It has become a major objective for companies. It is the key for the success of the production supply chain. Printed materials have to fulfill the needs of customers which are even more keen on investing in green technologies. And this makes a big difference for final customers as well. It is a major revolution that we're going through in terms of professionalism of processes, and the next edition of Print for All is indeed wants very much indeed to provide a voice to all these actors. The resilience, the ability to see the opportunities available, this really can make a big difference for a company today. The awareness that digitalization and sustainability are something that they need to invest on beyond their immediate advantages brought by these innovations. Print for All has another very important characteristic because it aims at leading companies towards future scenarios with an integrated approach that goes beyond traditional market segmentations and looks at the supply chain in its entirety. That is why in 2022, Print for All will be part again of the Innovation Alliance, although due to the change in the trade fair calendar after the pandemic, so not all events will take place at the same time. However, we have confirmed the concurrence of IPACHIMA International event dedicated to processing and packaging, and Intralogistica Italia, the event dedicated to industrial handling, warehouse management, material storage and picking. Therefore, visitors of Print for All trade show will also enjoy this whole offer of printing, packaging, folding, food, non-food sector, up to storage and handling of the final product. So a whole supply chain, a sort of ideal line that already in 2018 proved the advantages, the synergies, and above all, the inspirations and the mutual ideas that can be shared with the different sectors. There is also the possibility for those in charge of purchasing machines to be able to assess in a one-stop shop all the technologies available, all the solutions available. I've talked about this fair because these local events organized by Acimga are ideal steps towards the final appointment on the 22nd here in Milan. And for us, it is very important to listen to ideas that will emerge from these important roadshows. And even more so in the annual event of the Future Factory, as Briganti said earlier. The objective is to turn this trade fair a tool at the service of the market and its professionals, its practitioners, listening to the market. It is a unique opportunity to identify transversal cross-cutting targets, so to create synergies and generate new business opportunities, but also to update and to project the whole sector towards the recovery. And those who will be able to grasp it, there will be a recovery for sure, and especially for the printing market, which is characterized by multiple applications. So once again, thank you very much. I want to thank Acimga for this important opportunity. And I do hope to see you all in 22 at Fiera Milano for the Print for All trade show, and I wish you a fruitful day. Very well. Thank you, Paolo Pizzoccaro, the exhibition director of Print for All, the trade show that we all aim at, and we will be there in 2022. Together with Fiera Milano, together with Mr. Pizzoccaro, we will organize this important event. So we listen to ICE, to the embassy representative, Paolo Briganti and Pizzoccaro, and we now take a close look at the relationship between Italy and Russia and get to know some Italian companies and dealing with Russia. Our first guest is Mikhail Kidnadze. Hope I pronounce your name correctly. He is the CEO of Sameba, Simec agent for the Russian market. Simec is a company that was set up in 1960. It has an 18 billion turnover, 2 production plants, one close to Milan and the other one on the Adriatic coast in Italy. They produce over 12,000 rolls per year. They're best in class of the 4.0 industry of the printing industry. We have Mr. Kidnadze. You have the floor.
Hello. Thank you for this opportunity to take part in the roadshow, and thank you for your attention. My name is Mikhail Kidnadze, CEO of Sameba, with head office in Helsinki, in Finland. We act as an agent, a distributor, a representative for Simec in the Russian Federation. Our company is the representative of the Simec group for over 10 years now. The sales are handled by our subsidiary company in Russia, Star Group. In 2020, we ranked second in terms of analogs supplied to the Russian Federation. The bulk of our business is flexible packaging, and this is among the key areas of key expertise of our company. Regarding our product mix, it's all about flexography printing. And I would like to reiterate that we ranked second in 2020, and that's huge. That's an important achievement, as the market used to be dominated by our competition. And in the end, it was proven to the customers that the quality of the Simec is on par with world leaders. And in some cases, we have an advantage, we have an edge. And hopefully, this year, in 2021, we will become leaders. This is what we're planning for. We expect to see a significant increment of the production quality for the Simec group. We are seeing substantial advantages in this federalization. When Simec mentions the company name to whom provide analogs units, it only takes half a day to receive comprehensive information from the corporate database as to when and what specifically was supplied, which analogs type was supplied specifically. And this indeed helps to speed up transactions. Thank you for your kind attention. That is a quick overview of the cooperation between my company and Simec. Thank you for your attention.
Founded in 1960, and we never stopped growing and evolving. Nowadays, we export our products, that are rolls and sleeves, all over the world, and we also offer our life cycle solution designed to maintain them in the best way possible and to make their life cycle longer. At one point, we asked ourselves, how can we transfer values, experiences, and expertise to our stakeholders that are looking for innovative and smarter solutions? The answer was digitalization. We were sure this was the key. By digitalizing ourselves, we put in place a new way of doing business, our new way of doing business, SDB. SDB stands for Simec Digital Background. It is a system that involves every department of our company and that required organizational changes like factories re-engineering with lean techniques and their digitalization, as well as the automation of production processes and their coding. Over time, we have built an ERP in which we collect big data. This enables us to define an accurate identikit of customers around the world. Thus, we are closer to them and we are able to anticipate their needs and requirements. But let's go deeper inside.
When we speak of SDB, we talk about data, how to collect them, how to manage them, and how to combine them in order to get forecasts on customers' needs and to arrange production accordingly. But we also need to talk about digitalization of our premises, automation of our plants, and coding of the whole production universe, from machinery to engraving tools, engraving techniques, up to cylinders, through all steps of production cycles. But we also have to talk about traceability, because Simec is able to trace back the whole Anilux history, analyzing all steps. Therefore, you will hear my colleagues speak about data management, product customization, and performance analysis. These are the three pillars of Simec digital background that, combined all together, have allowed Simec to move from a more traditional and conventional reactive management of orders based on single orders of single customers to predictive management based on aggregate needs. This new logic allows us to predict and therefore to create some permanent stocks where cylinders are kept in stock ready for delivery. But to be of any real value, this should not remain a pure theoretical speculation, but should rather translate into benefits. Benefits for whom? For our customers, of course. Benefits, for example, the reduction of risks in Anilux selection, or a guarantee of repeatability of Anilux, always to get a constant quality of the printed matter, or fast deliveries thanks to our predictive warehouse, or still the possibility for our customers to access directly Simec database to get all the statistics concerning their Anilux and compare them with aggregate statistics of the same branch. So, if I was able to boost your curiosity, well, I'm happy to invite you to our SDB.
To manage data, we create a map for the customer's universe, and we collect information about their structures, their machines, how and how much they use them, and the product they introduce on the market. By doing so, we are able to create an accurate profile for every customer and to identify their specific needs. In this way, we are able to produce rollers which perfectly reflect their needs, talking about qualitative, quantitative, and also time necessities. The rollers we produce are then built around their machines and facilities, and according to what they will be applied for, they are also tested and codified, and for this reason they will always be available right when needed. By doing so, we also reduce drastically the usual risks connected to the Anilux selection, their relative costs, and also the waiting times. How do we customize an Anilux? To do so, we gather information about the industrial sector and the machines it will be working on. We mean that we study how to construct the roller, how to protect it from corrosion, the features of the ceramic layer, the finishing according to the doctoring system, and also the engraving technology. By doing so, we have then a reduction of both scoring line and ghosting, a reduction of the corrosion risk, a density which is constant during the years, and also a lower need of the cleaning the roller. And at the same time, we also lengthen the duration of this roller at work. But how do we manage to guarantee the repeatability of these specifics? We have codified all the processes, and for this reason, we are able to reproduce them exactly how we did the first time. Every Anilux has a digital identity, and thanks to this one, we are able to keep track of every significant event, from the construction to every refurbishment, and then to the end of its working life cycle. So how did this Anilux perform? Which was the time in between one refurbishment and the next one? Are we aligned with the aggregated sector analyses and timelines? In this case, are directly the factories which collect the data about the process of the production and also the specifics of the production. And they also transfer the data about the condition of the roller when it's sent to us to make it new again, and so for the refurbishment. And thanks to this information, we are able to offer the customer the same product again and again throughout the years.
How was all this possible? how this system has kept on evolving in such a progressive and constant way. Of course, thanks to the collaboration among different players. Today, the collaborations among the supply chain players are more frequently driven by commercial rather than technical purposes, and apparently the most user leverage to conquer the market is the price. Where is the will to offer a concrete benefit or to solve a specific problem? This is why the SDB community was born, to connect original equipment manufacturers, component suppliers, printers and brand owners, and create a technical partnership aimed at offering the perfect package to the end user, designed according to his needs. So, the aim of the community is to create a value-oriented market by giving to the buyer all the knowledge possible of the entire supply chain, integrated in each product marketed. SDB is not just Industry 4.0, it is also sustainability, especially the environmental sustainability. But can this method lighten our environmental footprint? Let me explain you why the answer is yes. As shown, a proper data management and a value approach to the market, the community approach, allows us to settle the analog specifications based on the end user needs. So we deliver a product that doesn't require any more preliminary tests or ink tests, because from the very first printed matter, it gives optimal results. This is how we actively participate in our customer production consumption, by reducing printing supports, ink wastes, as well as the energy they use. A short supply chain and a total control of each manufacturing phase allow us to select high-quality raw materials, drastically reducing production waste and implementing eco-friendly processes, for example, sealing with 100% natural sealants, and being also able to minimize environmental risks. This approach leads to the offer of high-quality, long-lasting analogs. They also require less maintenance and less frequent refurbishments. Accurate diagnostic and constant monitoring of analogs performance are an important preventive action aimed at maximizing analogs' working life. It's with this goal in mind that we have engineered in-house cleaning machines with patented technology that are effective and human-friendly. They are designed to maintain cylinders at low cost and low environmental impact. The liquid cleaner is also formulated to be reused in several cycles and disposed of without causing damage to the environment. We could also show you our second-hand guaranteed proposal that we think at sharing economy, but time flies and hour has come to the end. No worries, we are at your disposal anytime.
Bene, abbiamo...
Very well, we've come to know the Russian reality through the intervention of Mr. Tecnhlogy and our Simec video. And in our Simec presentation, and we've also heard about the great effort of Acimga and all affiliate businesses, the great attention that is given to the environment and to air pollution, and as well as water pollution and all kinds of emission. So Donau Carbon, the city Donau Carbon, is the next speaker. It's a leader for air emission treatment and solvency recovery. It's a very long story because it actually started out in 1922 with the first solvent recovery plant, and now it's active all over the world. For Donau Carbon Technology, we have Gianmario Melogli, who is a sales manager. Welcome. You have the floor. Thank you very much. So let's start our PowerPoint presentation. Here we are. We are talking about solvent recovery plants, solvent recovery technologies with active carbons. This comes from the production of flexible packaging, and this is the technical solution that is most sustainable both from the environmental and the economical point of view. You can see here in the picture one of these plants. Absorbers, these huge tanks, have carbon, active carbons that filters solvents that is coming from printing machines, and the outflowing air is therefore pure. Solvents that are recovered are then purified and fed back in their main components to the production so that it can be used again. Solvents in flexible packaging is present both in ink and in adhesives, and it is used to dilute to get the right density and viscosity that is needed for printing. Through our plants and our machines, not only we reduce the emissions to zero for solvents, but that solvent can be used again for production. The other main important technology for reducing emission is also regenerating thermal oxygenation, which does away with solvents by burning it. But it also allows us to heat thermal oil or to produce steam, as you can see from this picture. This is a plant that we have installed in the US. But solvent recovery also has many advantages if compared to combustion. There's no emission, which are present in combustion. There's no cost in buying back solvents, as solvents can be used again for as many times as we want. And it also cuts on the transport cost for solvents. We do not need large tanks. Solvents is fed directly from our plant to the production line. Quality is very constant, is very stable. There's no influence from the fluctuation of the price on the market for solvents, and we also reduce the consume of raw materials, so that our plant is more sustainable, thanks to the circular economy principles. Also, on marketing, large companies choose partners that have the best technologies, also from an ecological, from an environmental point of view. As for solvent recovery, there are two different solutions for carbons. First, we have steam or gas. Steam is used for those solvents that cannot be diluted in water, that are not soluble in water. For example, toluene for the printing industry, for books, or for example, for tape and double tape. But for flexible packaging, there are partially soluble solvents, for example, alcohol. By using active carbon with nitrogen, we avoid all possible problems in separating solvents from their water part, so that the plant can be very easily managed, and it's also very cheap to manage. This is an image that shows how the process goes. You can see, for example, the printing industry. You have air that is channeled through the recovery plant and then expelled. When the absorber is full, solvent is extracted from carbon and it is then sent on to distillation, where it is separated, and solvents are separated in order to be used again in the printing process. The full process is completely automated, and it only uses water, thermal oil, nitrogen, and power supply. Everything is easily available on the market, And this is the only things that you need in order to recover your solvent. This is the distillation process of a plant that we have built in China quite recently. We have 3 different columns to separate solvents from the process, from the printing process. You have ethyl acetate from the second column and alcohol in the third column. In the first column, we have high boiling materials which can be used as fuel, for example, for the furnace for thermal oil. In the first and second column, you also have a dehydration process, which is used to do away with the wet part of the atmosphere. And the quantity of, and the quality, I'm sorry, of the solvent that is recovered is perfect for the printing process. In order to decide on the creation of a solvent recovery plant, there's a whole journey to go through. First of all, the optimization of the SLA flow, then the definition of the design data using recycling, because a higher concentration also means a lower flow, smaller plant, and managing costs, operating costs are lower because the rate of absorption of carbon also depends on the concentration of solvents in the emissions. Once this is clear, once all data are clear, once we have all data on the composition of solvents for ink dilution and in the ink themselves, together with the data from solvent, the quantity of solvent used in 1 year, we can evaluate and find what's the best technical solution and think of a project, of how to finance the project. It's quite easy actually to finance this project because the payback is very, very low. You can find all this information very easily, and if anyone is interested in thinking about one of these solvent recovery plants, just giving us those data, this could be everything that we need to decide together on whether it's feasible and interesting. You have here some data on electricity solvent recovery. This client of ours has 3 autogravers and 1 lamination plant. You see that there's a design flow rate of 75,000 cubic meter every hour and a yearly consumption of solvent of 1,800 tons every year. We have to evaluate not only solvents for dilution, but also the solvent that comes with inks. And the final result is that we can get back 1,650 tons every year. Part of that will be alcohol, a part of that ethyl acetate. Total investment around 2.6 million euro, and OPEX, if you also factor in OPEX, the payback will be reached in 2 years, which is, I think, very interesting. Donau Carbon Technologies has also developed a new technology that couples regeneration through gas, also vacuum units to recover solvents. This is particularly eco-friendly as a solution because it cuts by 40% the energy needs, the energy consumption, and also cuts down, therefore, on CO2 emissions. It is therefore less polluting and less expensive. This plant can be pre-assembled, is usually pre-assembled at our premises. Also, the wiring is pre-assembled, so installation on site is very easy. We have a skid that you can see is being put on the lorry, and then you have absorbers that are built on. Once on site, it is wired and connected in its different batches with a skid for regeneration, one for the absorber, and then you have utilities that you can see in the pictures below. There's a heater and a chiller with air cooling. On the right side you see carbon, which is used, the Donau carbon that is used in our plants. Here you see a few images of existing plants that were realized recently. This is the first XCSR plant that was created for a client that already had a heating converter, and our plant can work in parallel with the 25 cubic meter every hour with an important quantity of solvent that is taken away from combustion and is reused in the process facility. This is yet another plant in Ethiopia, in Africa. There's no law actually regulating emissions in Ethiopia. This is a client with a rotograver plant who deemed it was very interesting to use this plant because he found it difficult to get the right supply of solvent in Ethiopia. So he can use its old solvent again and again. This is a Haflinger plant in northern Italy. Also with the rotograver machines. You can see that there are the absorbers there with the large tanks for carbon, but you can also see the regeneration and the solvent stocking facility. This is a plant that we have installed in Turkey at the premises of an important converter with 3 different plants. The problem here was space. Therefore, XCSR solution was particularly interesting. As you can see, we were able to install this on the roof of the plant, avoiding taking up further space. You can also see a distillation column in the picture below, and a couple more can be seen on the top left corner beyond the main plant. We have many other examples that we can give you for technologically traditional plants. For example, in Brazil, this is a plant that was installed at one of the main converters' premises, who used to consume some 4,000 tons of solvent every year, and who is earning back $3.2 million every year only on solvent. The Solvent Recovery plant has a very short payback, a very positive payback time, and in the longer run, this actually increases your profits because it drives down production costs. The point here is not creating new products or anything. You're just cutting on your operational costs. In Chile, you see this is a plant that was installed at the main converter in the world, then another plant in Croatia for 120,000 cubic meter every hour. This is also very interesting as the payback goes, as it was absorbed in a very short time. In France, we have yet another plant. This is the first plant in the world that is recovering MEC for food usage. MEC is a particularly costly solvent, much more than ethyl acetate. So this is also very interesting from an economic point of view, with a very high earning for a year. We also have a final example in Russia. Russia is an important client for us. We have both steam and nitrogen plants. This is the last example that I wanted to give you. This is also a Russian example with 120,000 cubic meter every hour with 3 distillation columns. 3 columns also mean that high boiling can be separated and acetyl and alcohol can be mixed with the ethyl acetate in order to obtain different mixtures that are used for diluting inks. And this leads us to a 2 million earning net every year for this customer. Now let us give a glance at our examples for Donau Carbon in the last couple of years. You can see that the interest for our plans for solvent recovery has been increasing thanks to the development of this late technology, this very modern technology that makes it interesting also for converters that until recently were only using small amounts of solvents and therefore were not particularly interested in these kinds of plant. We can say right now that a converter, any converter willing to use again its converter can do so from 500 tons upwards. The payback time can be a bit longer with small quantities, but for example, for the Russian market where there is this strong focus on environmental sustainability, a treatment plan would still be necessary. So the choice between thermal combustion and a recovery plant can be assessed with very small additional costs. The last plant that we've sold was sold to a Russian customer, to Constantia Kuban. That is using ethyl acetate for a quantity of 840 tons a year with a 2.5 payback time. The idea of recovering solvents is usually linked to the particular mixtures of solvents used for printing. But if you're using coupling, the only solvent you're using is ethyl acetate, which makes the management of these recovery plants very easy. Here you have a table with many more plants that were installed in the recent years with you see different data and production capacity from 50,000 to 100,000 cubic meter every hour. The China picture that you've seen before actually comes from a plant that was installed in the Wuhan region, which is now sadly well known. And we were able to start the plant without even sending our experts on spot, thanks to a remote connection of the plant. And again, still today, all assistance can be given in real time through a very simple internet connection. So you can imagine that it is extremely easy to manage plants even when they're far, far away. For example, think of Ethiopia. Now, Matteo, I'm done actually. If anyone is interested about these recovery plans, please get in touch.
Very well, thank you to Mr. Meloli of DCT. This is so we listened to an important analogs producer and now solvent recovery plant producer. So we move now to the Russian market, and I want to give the floor to the president of the National Federation of Producer, Alexander Boyko. You have the floor.
I am pleased with this opportunity to communicate with our Italian partners, and I thank the organizers of our webinar. The Russian packaging market is quite young. It is probably 25, 30 years old. And for all these years, we were in close contact with our Italian partners at different levels. We purchased materials and equipment directly. We conducted various tests and of course and experiments, and this gave a strong impulse to the development of our industry. The cooperation is continuing, and this is very important. The commercial department of the Italian embassy in Russia, our business communities and organizations, including our Confederation, which covers quite a substantial segment of the market, are active participants of this process. The Russian packaging market is in the top 10 global packaging markets, and in the year 2020 it exceeded 16.5 billion euros. I would like to put the first slide on the screen that is showing the dynamics of production in the core segments of the packaging industry. Unfortunately, there was no time for us to translate these slides into the English language, but I will try to present them anyway. While the first slide is being prepared, I would like to tell you that in the previous periods, the dynamics of our markets were correlated to the dynamics of the processing industry in general.
We can see a close connection with macroeconomic indicators. In 2020, we see some diversion of trends, which significantly impacted the packaging market in the previous years. This is a factor of the new reality. And the capacities were insufficient to ensure a positive dynamics of the packaging market, which is superior to the previous years, as shown here in this diagram. We can see the corrugated packaging segment, which in 2020 sees an increase compared to the previous year. We see some decrease in fiberboard. We can see some trends for the flexible packaging. Glass and metal account for a lower percentage of the market in Russia in 2020. As a result of the pandemic restrictions enforced, the customer behavior changed. And the new term was introduced, the economy of social distancing. This applies to the interaction between the state and the industry, as well to the social relations, of course. The new reality changes the structure and consumption model, prioritization of purchasing channels, establishes new customer trends. Some of these will go away as we deal with the COVID pandemic, as some trends are there to stay. These are the main segments. The first segment is an increase in foodstuff production of around 60% in 2020. The consumption level for packaging for beverages remained the same. This is column 4. We see an increase in pharmaceutical and hygiene items, electrotechnical appliances, home appliances. This has seen a significant decrease. Overall, there is a decline in industrial production in the pandemic times. The dynamics is of negative nature, but it's not as painful for other areas of industry. If we talk about development trends, we can talk about home food, contactless purchases, reduction of times you go shopping. A single multi-format digital ecosystem, customer retail manufacturer. We can see a wider product mix, and there is a change to the personal preferences of customers. People prefer shopping online, new products introduced to the market, new packaging solutions being introduced. These are the main trends we see in the market in 2020. And the market did respond to the changing customer requirements. So there is less negative attitude towards polymer packaging. It outdid other areas in 2020 for the packaging segments. Disposable items are in higher demand. So we see customized trends in packaging. Transportation becomes much more expensive. And this leads to the fact that the geography and the footprint of packaging increases significantly. Well, usually these used to be large malls in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Nowadays, the packaging industry representatives are represented widely across the nation. We see that recycling is a big thing now. Biopolymers are seeing an increase. Regarding paper and fiberboard packaging, the recycled fiberboard production is growing, and in 2020 there was a huge lack of recycled fiberboard available in the market. Stricter requirements to sustainable production and environment protection. This production concept has seen changing trends. The industrial consumers of packaging in 2022 are supposed to ensure collection and recycling of packaging, and they will be expected to pay recycling fees. We can see a drastic growth of e-commerce. In this diagram here, we see indicators starting from 2014, and e-commerce is skyrocketing in 2020. If we address the population, 42 of the interviewed respondents intend to shop online, and today 49% of online purchases are made from smartphones. 42% intend to purchase food on the web next year, and 90% of Russian online shoppers did make purchases in Russian stores. The age group 45 to 64 years old, they account for 55% of those who responded who specified that they are likely to purchase food online. If we talk about the structure of the Russian packaging market, we can see the breakdown in this slide here. 36% the share of fiberboard and paper-based packaging, 20% for flexible packaging, 18% for hard and polymer packaging, 12% for glass packaging, metal packaging, 10%, other 4%. I will quickly focus on two segments. Corrugated fiberboard in 2020. Corrugated fiberboard clearly shows consolidation going on. This accounts for over 1/2 of annual production. This shows significant consolidation occurring in this segment of the market. The dynamics is shown in this slide here. Quite interestingly, we see significant fluctuations throughout 2020. Well, it ranges from growth by 10% down to a decline of 3%. Polymer packaging in Russia, it has always shown specific trends, and the attitude is not absolutely one-sided. It is relatively less expensive, but on the other hand, polymer packaging is being increasingly criticized nowadays. In 2020, when safety has become one of the priorities, polymer packaging has taken a stronger stand. In 2014, the concept was extended in terms of extended manufacturers' liability. This was aimed at ensuring the maximum safety of packaging. And this was chiefly accounted for by polymer packaging. The consumption trends are shown in this diagram here till 2014. This sector has shown an increase of 5 to 10%. Year on year, there has been a slight slowdown with an average growth of 2 to 3% till 2019, and that was then followed by a change of trends. And what are the main values today for the packaging market? What will they look like for Russian packaging manufacturers? This concern is as follows: more customized attitude, choosing the perfect value for money ratio, increased automation of customers' processes, and more customized approach. For industrial customers, this is meeting customized technical requirements, being customized for the product, good value for money, and reliability of suppliers. And what is relevant for the end consumer? Convenient, easy to use, being able to quickly find the required brand, truthful information provided, environmental and health safety, meeting customized requirements, and environmentally friendly design. Trends for 2020-2030. In a nutshell, these look like this. Increased a number of small households. This is about economy and demography, an increase of retail turnover, adaptation of packaging of world brands to the specifics of high-speed developing countries, environmental responsibility, ensuring compliance with strict ecology requirements, increased entries towards ensuring sustainable development, introduction of ecology-friendly and environmentally friendly materials, health safety. This is preservation of the products, increased quality, increased role of the consumer, conventionalization, increased convenience for the customer, a high interrelation between the product with consumers via this packaging, engaging consumers in anti-fraud, fraud activities, stricter competition, development of packaging for optimal merchandise placement, and rendering the packaging premium grade. A few words on our exhibitions. And that has become a clear fact in 2020. When one packaging exhibition took place, which is Upakovka packaging. Traditionally, Italian manufacturers have a significant footprint as part of this exhibition, and we're looking forward towards 2022. Hopefully, 2022 will help us to take part in these exhibitions offline. In 2022, these exhibitions probably will look different. There will be less person-to-person communication due to the distancing. So we can see that the innovation cycle is shorter and the companies have something to show for a more competent visitor. Constant modification is going on to meet the changing needs of the customers. So we need to look for information, ideas, and we need to engage more actively. Online is a big thing, and as a result of the exhibitions are a must. They should be taking place. Probably they should have a local focus, but they need to provide for specific solutions for the manufacturers and consumers of packaging. So we will be seeing new trends, so please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boyko, the president of the National Federation for Packaging Producers. We now have another representative of the industry. The industry's name is Georg Polimer. We are in the south of Russia, Patolsk, if I pronounce it correctly. We have Luciza Nabatova with us. Welcome. You have the floor.
Добрый день.
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. It's my pleasure to see you and hear you all. Even though not all of the topics are relevant for my industry, for my enterprise, this is overall a very interesting, exciting event, and I do see some practical sense in the topics covered. Shall I share my presentation on my own, or can you see my presentation already being shared by someone else? All right. I'm going to share my presentation now. To start off, let me cover the history of the company I'm managing. In a nutshell, I'm the CEO of the company. Georg Polimer, for the last 6 years, has been developing extensively. Our key expertise is hard polymer packaging for automated production lines. This is normally referred to as mid-trays. These are trays and containers for packaging, for sealing. We have around 40 million containers for sealing per month. The average annual growth rate has been around 30% throughout the last 6 years. So we are always investing in the extension of manufacturing capacities. From day one, we have been focusing on specific areas like cups. We work with industries who establish high-speed packaging lines. Here we have listed the technologies where we are a trusted technology partner for processing food industries. This is the modified gas environment, vacuum, packaging skin. So this is vacuum packaging on a tray, deep freeze, and pasteurization. As of today, it is this narrow segment where our company is a leader. This is highlighted by the number of requests submitted on a daily basis, number of active partners, and number of projects we are working on at the moment. Let's move forward. I would like to cover the following areas. As I prepared to this event, I can see there is a high demand for flexible packaging. I would like to draw the attention to the market analysis provided by the Smithers company, the Future of Global Flexible Packaging to 2026. This is a large study, and I'd like to quickly cover a few areas here. The forecast of global consumption We can see that in the second blue bar. This is plus 6 million tons for flexible packaging consumed globally. Let's try to see what this means. Imagine that this 500,000 tons per month, and if we analyze this from a standpoint of a large enterprise processing 2.5, 3,000 tons, this is around 200 new plants emerging globally and producing flexible packaging. These are huge numbers, impressive numbers, even though it seems at first sight that the growth rate is not big. So I also have here the world population growth diagram. Probably everyone knows this diagram. Where will these plants be located? Where do they go to? Where will businesses be located? And which areas we need to focus on? The yellow line in this diagram, as we can see, is accounted for by Asia. The growth of the Asian population determines this trend, and it's highly probable that the 6 million tons mentioned will be probably produced somewhere in the Asian region. The second important point I would like to draw attention to is this. Food packaging accounts for 75% of the whole flexible packaging market. This is a very substantial figure. Why so? Quite often, when we talk about sustainable development or environmentally friendly trends in the packaging development, we tend to underestimate the fact that it is the packaging that helps us to preserve the product. And this idea, over the course of the 5 to 10 years, it has moved to the background. Quite often, when you attend conferences and congress events, you hear those voices that, okay, we're preserving the product, we're still losing a lot of product due to insufficient packaging. And this study here, this survey makes the mention of it. When we discard food, we lose food products. It's not biodegradable right away. It can be various conditions. It can be a landfill or in the field, and it produces methane, and which is also a problem that needs to be considered thoroughly. And this is a full-fledged issue. We would like to see more awareness programs rather than narrow area projects specializing in some of the segments. It would be probably a good idea to mention that flexible plastics, and here we have the list of the most popular ones, they are likely to be the fastest growing ones. The flexible packaging seems to be offering the best value for money, the best savings, and seems to be delivering less harm to the environment and impact. Let's talk about the governments and consumers. So a lot of governments and consumers pay a great deal of attention to reducing the environmental impact. We need more awareness and awareness programs so that the considerations made are of more scientific nature. To follow up on this, I would like to draw your attention to yet another study, yet another survey. Russia has X5 Retail Group, which is a large retail, the largest multi-format retail chain. This chain initiated a survey and developed recommendations for sustainable packaging. This is meant for suppliers. That has been a large program, a big effort. Over 100 experts were brought together. These are representatives of suppliers, processing industry representatives, recycling industries, ecology, environment protection activists. So this was quite a representative group, which they came up with detailed recommendations. Below you see the web link to this presentation material. I believe this document should be thoroughly considered. This is just to showcase the approaches covered in this document. Let me mention all types of packaging are broken down into preferable packaging types. In this slide here, it's written in Russian: preferable packaging on the left-hand side, in the center less preferable packaging, and the least preferable packaging on the right-hand side. By the way, this is a very positive step forward for the Russian packaging. X5 does not ban any packaging type. Rather, what they do is they provide recommendations and advice, and they give suppliers an opportunity to gradually make the transition towards a more preferable packaging types. What determines whether a packaging type is preferable or not? Let's take a look here. Preferable packaging means packaging made of more preferable materials. Criteria. The second criteria is whether the raw materials can be subjected to recycling in Russia. It means that this packaging should be widely accepted for recycling as part of recycling facilities, and it should be actually sorted from solid municipal waste. So manufacturers are able to make their judgments whether this packaging will be recycled in the future, and they can follow the recommendations applied in their specific category. And the third point, optimal barrier properties. This is about the fact that the products should be preserved and they should be delivered to the consumers the way they're meant to be. Now, let's move on. Let's take a look what the less preferable packaging means. Less preferable materials for this category as follows. Whether the recycling in Russia is less widespread and there is no sorting from solid municipal waste. There are no awareness raising campaigns, and there are single pilot projects for recycling which have a limited impact on the situation. And there are analogs made of more preferable materials having the same barrier or better barrier properties. So suppliers have the choice if there are more preferable analogs that have required barrier properties. And if this kind of packaging can be processed and recycled in the present-day conditions, then suppliers can reconsider their choice of packaging, and thus they can prepare their products in line with these recommendations. If we take a more detailed look here, if we break down all these categories, there are a total of 13 categories of this kind. And this document specifies which types of packaging are included in the first, second, and etc. categories on the list. Now a few words on the hard polymer packaging market in Russia. Hard polymer packaging is needed for the following purpose. The product needs to maintain its shape from the time of packaging till the opening by the customer. This applies to liquid, soft foods, foods that are meant to keep a specific shape throughout the cycle. And the market of hard polymer packaging is less versatile, is narrower compared to flexible packaging. But there are solutions like modified gas environment, which is really a big thing, very popular nowadays. There is a difference here. There is a difference between the way the market has grown till 2020 and the way this segment will be growing in 2021, 2022, up to 2021. The main driver of the market growth has been the technology refurbishing in the meat industry, poultry, meat, turkey, mutton, and all meat types, duck. These processing facilities, meat processing, they have seen a dramatic growth. The launch of the meat processing industries is associated with the food safety program initiated in 2010. Substantial incentives and subsidies were allocated by the government. And thus, industries are incentivized to invest in this area. So you can see the shelves of a standard supermarket in Russia, and it's full of fresh meat, vacuum bags, or trays. These are the two types. By meat, here I mean turkey, poultry, any chicken, all publicly available meat types. This is an overall term. The second driver is the growth of urban population. It's clear that nowadays population is concentrated in large cities. So it's difficult to have your own poultry, right, when you live in a city. So the growth of urban population implies that a specific consumption type is prevailing. Nowadays, large retail chains cover the whole territory of the Russian Federation. You can find Peterochka or Magnet stores or Dixie stores everywhere. And in the meat department, you will see the same picture. This, what the market looked like before the pandemic. What changed? Let's take a look. Alexander Gavrilovich already mentioned that the changing consumer behavior, and this is relevant not only for Russia. Well, it came like a bolt from the blue, and it has become highly important to ensure high hygiene standards. So we would use sanitizers extensively, trying to kill the virus in any ways we could. We used boiling water to treat foodstuffs. The first requirement is towards the hygiene and airtightness. The second trend is the dramatic growth of e-grocery, of the e-commerce FMCG market. E-grocery is a new term. Infoline is a marketing agency. According to Infoline, the market of e-grocery has seen an increase to 135 billion from 43 billion as of 2019. And that's a clear impact of the 2020 situation associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet another trend which is associated with quarantine, this is delivery of convenience food. There is yet another driver that will enable us to maintain that. And this has a big thing before the pandemic and in the pandemic. This is the data of RBK agency. We have a total of 3 diagrams here. This is the convenience food delivery market trends. In our case, we work with large meat processing facility, which accounted for 80% back in 2012. Yes, we did have clients of a different type. This was intended for a smaller enterprise. These were trays for small enterprise. If you have an automatic high-speed line, or if you have semi-automatic receivers, of course, trays work for that purpose. No problem with that. So the such medium to small customers accounted for no more than 20%. In 2020, this pool of clients associated with convenience food has seen an increase up to 35% of the overall sales. And these are figures shown in this diagram. These apply to the overall growth in Russia. If we take a look at the first diagram here, we see 2018, 16 billion rubles for convenience food delivery. 2019, 25 billion, which seems to be a pretty good growth rate, right? And here we have this burst up to 47 billion in 2020. And this is the data as of September 2020. This is the data as of September 2020. So we will shortly see the overall figures for 2020, and we'll see even a higher growth rate. The share of convenience food delivery market, shown in the second diagram, highlights the following. We see some organic growth, and that was the burst growth shown in 2020. So this is the dynamics of the share of the convenience food delivery market. And the third diagram shows the share of chain restaurants providing delivery services. I would like to cover that in greater detail. When the restrictions were enforced and you could no longer physically go to a restaurant, that was one of the most affected segments. If you don't have any delivery and you're in lockdown, you simply go out of business. Yandex Yeda, Yandex Food Delivery, has seen a fantastic onboarding rate. The onboarding process has been sped up for new suppliers. So if they hadn't sped up the onboarding process, they wouldn't have handled that until the end of the year. And it now only takes them 24 hours to onboard a new partner for delivery services via Yandex Yeda, Yandex Food. A number of restaurant projects survived thanks to delivery services only. Two areas: onboarding for existing service like Delivery Club, Yandex Yeda, Samokat, another delivery service. These are already implemented delivery services. And another trend is custom-made delivery apps. A new offering is a delivery service builder tool. You can use that builder tool on your website and build your own delivery service. So this is being a huge market driver. So there is a lot of investment flowing in. We have projects associated with convenience food deliveries with a shelf life of 24 to 36 hours. We have projects for long-term storage like pasteurization of convenience food. So it's so widespread, it's so available. So within 30 minutes, you can get your order. In Yekaterinburg, this will be around up to 1 hour. So we'll expect this segment to grow in the future as well. Restaurant businesses, partners we work with, tray sealers, supplies for our customers. Will this high level of demand, will this be relevant in the future? This applies to both online and offline. So I have 3 comments made by the management of this growth, of the growth drivers here. And I will quote this for you. Delivery Club, the marketing director, Oleg Kaustov, provides the following answer. The pandemic has brought additional understanding towards the delivery market, both from the standpoint of the users as well from the market players. Both now have a new attitude towards delivery in this period. The first ones now see additional time saving. This is about the consumers, and the manufacturers now consider this to be a working tool for subsequent market development of their businesses. Dmitry Mysyuk, the CEO of Yandex Yeda, Yandex Food Deliveries. This is a young gentleman. He believes that there's been a consumer shift. We see a number of new users with Yandex Yeda. They have now developed new digital behavior, and they are likely to keep these attitudes, keep these behavior patterns when the lockdown is lifted. You know that there has been some easing of the lockdown in the summer of 2020, then the lockdown has been increased in the autumn. There's been no decline in the delivery market, even though the lockdown was eased. This is proven by the statistics. And the CEO of Utkanos Online, Danny Pirikalski, who has become an absolute leader in this growth. It's absolutely clear that the leader is Utkanos. We believe that the demand has been a catalyst. According to forecasts, this growth is going to continue, and we'll see a double-fold growth or even higher. This is the next to the last slide here, and let me say a few words now. The situation we find ourselves in offers a number of opportunities, but there are some significant difficulties there. For Russian packaging manufacturers, there are two main problems. One problem is associated with the fact that as the foreign exchange weakens the ruble, the equipment costs are soaring. This applies to us as a company that invests in our production on a yearly basis. This also is relevant for our consumers who plan further investments in launching new products of theirs. And if we could look for the joint financing programs, another point to make here is this. This is about 20 years in the industry, and I haven't seen a situation of this kind. So I would like to draw your attention to the following, that the polymer demand is showing a record high. And there are substantial risks because the contract conditions cannot be modified accordingly. That would be it for my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Grazie alla dottoressa Lucesa Namatova di Georg Polimer.
Thank you very much. I really have to ask our future speaker to be brief, if that's possible, to be concise, because we're going a bit late now. So I give the floor to the director of AP Solution, also active in the packaging industry, very strong on the thermal shrinking production. So you have the floor, Evgeny Homutov.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Colleagues, first and foremost, I would like to thank the organizers of this webinar. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you for giving me the floor. I will cover the Russian market. I will cover the heat shrinkable packaging. Let me remind you what shrink sleeve is. Heat shrinkable films have unique properties. These films, when temperature is applied, they change their dimensions. So it means that they shrink, hence the name. And longitudinally, it's only 30% shrink. And it reaches 60 to 70% of shrinkage laterally, transversely. That's why heat sleeve shrinkable packaging can be used in the packaging industry. The material is being sealed, so a sleeve is being formed. The sleeve is cut to the required size. It is put on the tear. It goes through a thermal tunnel where thermal shrinkage takes place. And this label fully covers the tear no matter how peculiar the shape is, how specific the shape is. The main materials used nowadays are as follows for heat shrinkable labels: is the PVC, polyvinyl chloride, PVC, PET, and oriented polystyrene. These account for 70, 20, and 10% respectively in the Russian market. There are other films, such as oriented polypropylactides, but the share of these is insignificant in the market. So these are considered to be exotic, not mainstream for all. So these might be ignored for the purposes of this study. And this attitude is easy to explain. This type of film have better aesthetics, and they have the maximum shrinkage ratio compared to other films, but it's way more expensive. It exceeds the price of other films significantly, and as a rule, it is being used for middle price tier products, or when you need to obtain very strong shrinkage. A good case in point is wines. So the shrinkage ratio should be high. PVC films are less expensive. They're easier to handle, easier to print on, and in post-printing processes. Quite often, the low price is a decisive factor when deciding which materials to pick. Production waste of flexible heat shrinkage films we need to remember that the chloride content is less environmental friendly. The development and the use of heat shrinkage labels emerged in the early noughts. Major yogurt manufacturers appeared with foreign capital chiefly, and these are record-breaking numbers back then. Back then, the main priorities were offset and rotogravure productions. Flexographic printing is also part of this trend. In around 2015, the market looks as follows: 40% with rotogravure, 20% was accounted for by flexography printing. But starting from 2015-2018, apart from the dairy produce manufacturers, yogurt manufacturers, a number of other manufacturers coming from other areas of the market, they are showing more interest in heat shrinkage. Why so? They're starting to pay attention to the properties of heat shrinkage compared to the traditional self-adhesive packaging. Since the printing layer is inside and the sleeve is sealed, the outer layer protects the inner layer from any mechanical damage during transportation. Heat shrinking label covers the whole surface of tear. This allows manufacturers to use images across the whole surface of the product. So this is also for advertisement as well, which is also another tool used in the industry. If the shrinkage applies to the tap, to the stopper as well, that's a very good quality control method. If the stopper, if the lid is covered with heat shrinking material, it means that this bottle was never opened. So we see more and more heat shrinkage labels on the shelves of supermarkets. Other areas also apply heat shrinkable labels like alcohol, wine, vodka, liquor industries, winery, beer brewery, cosmetics, household items. So there is a wide market for that. As of today, I'm going to share my presentation now. We can say that the distribution of the Russian market of heat shrinkage looks like follows. A traditional player is the dairy produce manufacturers, which are traditional leader here. Beverages, juices, soft drinks account for an important part as well. Baby food, detergents, household chemicals have a lower share, but still they're present in this diagram. This breakdown can be considered as an average yearly value. So this is an average figure overall. Regarding the monthly breakdown, it's very difficult to collect data on a monthly basis. Why so? There is a significant seasonal change, and it does not match across segments normally. So these seasons do not match between segments. In 2015 and 2018, more and more attention is being paid to treatment. So we now see cold foil, which is very in high demand for the vodka industry. In this slide here, we have some examples. This is cold foil on heat shrinking film, heat shrinking label. Selective lacquer varnish application is a new trend. They often add various glitters. Holographic transfer application is also used, and this implies reversing the feed during printing. This is a very good example of selective matte lacquer varnish application and cold foil. Normally, these cases are from the vodka industry, the liquor industry, or for chemical industry. Silk screen process. This adds volume to the label and particular tactile experience, which can only be achieved by reversing the feed. Here we have a silk screen process with cold foil applied. We can see that the design of the labels is becoming more and more complex. And the technology to back this up is becoming more and more evolved and complex. We even see combinations of heat shrinking materials and other various types of materials which can be used for label production. All this prioritizes flexography printing, since they have a linear structure of the machinery, and they're more flexible to the offset and rotogravure. The test driver for flexography. This is less expensive and faster to manufacture. It is this period when flexography-based heat shrinkage is seeing a huge growth. Flexography is outdoing offset printing gradually. As of today, they have a different breakdown. Offset, rotogravure, and flexography, they have virtually the same share of around 30% per each. We must mention the market capacity for heat shrinkage materials of labeling. It's very difficult to assess, but according to my data obtained when analyzing the market output by major players, and this includes the main suppliers of heat shrinking films in the Russian market, I come to the following conclusion. As of today, this is around 180-200 million square meters of printing products per year. Why in square meters, not in tons? Because heat shrinkage film is of various thickness, up to 65 microns, etc., and different thickness. So we have various calculations depending on the thickness. And this is more difficult to put in perspective. Of course, the coronavirus crisis has had an impact on these figures overall. I believe in 2021 these figures will be a little lower compared to 2018 and 2019. Heat shrinkage label growth results. It will not suffer a decline of more than 5 to 7%, that's for sure. Let's sum this up. In a nutshell, we can point out the following. The market of heat shrinkage materials and labels is seeing an active phase, and as I mentioned, it will see a growth rate of 5 to 7% per year. Flexography printing will be capturing more of a footprint in this market. This can be stated with confidence. Treatment technology will be in high demand, and having this process put in place in printing works will become a significant advantage, competitive edge in this market segment. We have a limited time frame today, and that would be it on my part regarding heat shrinkage. I would like to thank you all for your kind attention. I wish you the best of luck. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves, of your relatives, family, and of your employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Homutov of AP Solutions, and thank you, Russia, for inventing vodka. Allow me to say that. We now have a focus on the brand owners, and please again be brief because we are running behind schedule. So I give the floor to Mikhail Putilin, the Vice President of Barilla Russia. No need for introducing Barilla, one of the largest pasta manufacturers. Mikhail Putilin, you have the floor. Welcome.
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. Today, as part of this event, I am the only person to represent the so-called clients, the so-called customers of this packaging. And we have a very relevant case of mutually beneficial cooperation between the economies of Russia and Italy. Let me download my presentation and share it with you now. I hope you will see this presentation. The organizers asked me to make it in 8 minutes, and I'll do my best to make sure that it's only 8 minutes. I will focus on the Barilla principles in the sustainable packaging area. And we pay a great deal of attention towards the selection of packaging materials and selection of suppliers of such packaging. A few words on the Russian market. Barilla is a global leader in the pasta production. It has a bit late to the Russian market with acquisition of the French bread and bakery producer Harris with a plant in Solnechnogorsk, a Russian town. In 2009, we started pasta sales and promotion in Russia, which enabled us to reach substantially high sales levels. And in 2015, the localization of pasta production in Russia took place. In 2019, we had to double the pasta production capacities at the same facility. As of today, it's for everyone to see, we are in an active phase of establishing a new production facility in the vicinity of Stupino. In 2023, we expect to start the milling and then launch another production facility. All right, but the Barilla sustainable packaging principles and approaches to sustainable packaging. What does sustainable packaging mean? A well-established notion says that a packaging is sustainable when it can perform all of its major functions, which is to contain, protect, preserve, and present the product at the same time, without, quite importantly, any negative impact on the environment. This is the traditional triple R approach. Reuse, recycle, and reduce. Less packaging by design. Of course, this is the focus of our attention when dealing with packaging materials. Based on these global packaging principles, the group has come up with 5 major baseline principles. This is how we work with packaging materials. The first principle here is, of course, about reducing the quantity of material used for packaging purposes. The second one is utilizing recyclable packaging, which is very important to us. Third, utilizing materials from responsibly managed forests. Fourth, validating the choice of technical packaging solutions using the so-called life cycle assessment, LCA. LCA is a methodology which implies assessment of environmental impact of packaging solutions. And the final, 5th principle, last but not least, is utilizing renewable sources, which is not in competition with food chain. How do we apply these principles here in Russia and the Russian market? Our main packaging and our distinctive feature of our products is our Barilla Blue Box. First and foremost, it's functional, of course. It's suitable for modern packaging lines, thus contributing to improving manufacturing efficiency. It properly fits pasta. The box dimensions are designed in order to minimize over-packaging and waste of material, and thus to optimize the whole packaging system. At the same time, it streamlines the whole packaging process. Of course, this type of packaging provides very good protection for pasta from breakage during storage, transportation, and at home. Russia is a great nation, as you know, and which is critically important for us. Regarding the environmentally friendly packaging, I would like to highlight that the cardboard used should come from responsibly managed forests according to the Forest Stewardship Council FSC, the Program for Endorsement of Forest Classification PEFC, and Sustainable Forestry Initiative SFI. These are very authoritative organizations. Of course, our Barilla Blue Box is designed for complete recycling. In particular, the paper fibers can be recovered in paper recycling processes, while this plastic window here is easy to remove during recycling. The challenges we face in the Russian market. I have mentioned on the key one. While launching the local production facility, as all food manufacturers, we expect to see a 100% of localization of both raw materials and packaging materials. For raw materials, we have achieved roughly 100% localization. Unfortunately, we cannot say at the moment so regarding the packaging materials being used. All raw materials for the production of our Blue Box is being imported into Russia, which might seem strange. I'm not going to mention all of the elements. You can see them in the slide here. It ranges from the cellulose fiber with ink, varnish, water-based varnish, and glue. Our packaging suppliers keep importing, which has a negative impact on the cost, on the production cost of our products. Hopefully, in the future, we'll be able to come up with positive alternatives for imported packaging. A case in point regarding our vision. What we expect the future trends to be in Russia, they have already been mentioned here in Russia. This is about personalized and premium packaging. We're using this approach in other markets. We already have a global online platform that enables our end consumers to take part in the creation of personalized premium packaging for 12 special occasions throughout the year: birthday, friendship, love, name day, school parties, graduation, Valentine's Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Grandparents' Day, Halloween, and Christmas, of course. So we hope this will come true in the Russian market as well. Hopefully this will be made available to the Russian consumers as well. That would be it for my part. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and have a very nice day yourself. Mr. Mikhail Putilin, the only representative of the brand owners today. So thank you very much for your contribution, and thank you for respecting the timing. We are lagging a little bit behind, so I'm asking our next speaker to step in. We're now moving towards the editors and publishers world. So let me welcome Mr. Babalyuk Evgeny. He's professor at the Media and Publishing Department of the Technical University in Moscow. You have the floor. Welcome.
Спасибо.
Thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. Hello. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers of these webinars. My presentation will share some ideas presented by Mr. Boyko, so I will quickly go through the slides and I will focus on the artistic part of it. I represent the Moscow Polytechnic University, the Higher School of Printing and Media Industry. If our Italian colleagues recall, that used to be referred to as the Moscow State University of Printing Arts. Now it's the Higher School of Printing and Media Industry. It's part of the Moscow Polytechnic University. We have been cooperating with the Association of Italian Manufacturers of Machinery for Graphic, Paper and Converting Industries, Acimga, in the field of education, competence development, student contents and contests and competitions. So the colleagues should remember that widespread cooperation projects. I will quickly scroll through the slides covered by Mr. Boyko. In red, you see the affected industries and the percentage rates. Consumers prepare to a possible lockdown, and this is what they do. This is a public opinion survey. According to this survey, 53% are concerned with secondary waves of COVID-19. This is a list of products, foods purchased by this concerned population group. The demand for various packaging types is higher now. These are foods, long shelf life products, processed foods, canned food, frozen food. This has already been mentioned earlier. New requirements towards packaging and process, protective, sterile and barrier properties of packaging, they have come to the fore now. The packaging material should become environmentally friendly and safe for the environment. Companies operating in the packaging industry while organizing their activities should move their management competencies to online, to remote working. Those employees involved in production directly, of course, they keep working offline. The vast majority of Russians, 77%, are concerned with getting the novel coronavirus infection. During the pandemic, more and more people started cooking in the comfort of their home, preferring home food over restaurant food, and they don't frequent supermarkets that often. Prospects. Flexible and transparent packaging will be on the rise. Such packaging protects from moist, protects from germs and viruses, and the most important thing, it's easy to touch and see and understand what's inside. In terms of logistics and merchandising, it's also a useful way, as these products are lighter in weight, they take up less space compared to those packaged with glass or metallic packaging. So that's why the flexible and light packaging will be on the rise in the upcoming years. I concur with other speakers, Nabatova and Mr. Boyko. We will see a growth of polymer packaging. Anti-counterfeiting activities. We see more and more counterfeit attempts. It is the modern packaging that helps us to fight counterfeit activities. QR codes and barcodes present on the packaging are not sufficient. Today, it is technically possible in Europe and in other nations to apply RFID tags applied polygraphically. So such an RFID tag is applied during printing. Next, achievements in AR, augmented reality. Augmented reality is a technology that enables to integrate information with items and objects of real world as part of text, computer graphics, audio, and other images in real time. So augmented reality is a tool that implies augmenting the real items and objects with digital imagery. So you can apply digital virtual elements on a physical object that we see in real life. So any imagery can be added. It's about the way it is being manufactured, processed, etc. And this will help to protect the packaging and the packaged goods from counterfeit activities and attempts. AR is also a marketing tool. Two marketing goals pursued: increasing primary sales and increasing secondary sales. The increase of primary sales is achieved through a more detailed piece of information provided to the potential customer. Regarding secondary sales, the main idea is to use AR to give customers a free service and thus establish a positive emotional bond with the customers. The commercial growth of AR technology in the near future is huge. Unlike VR, virtual reality, you don't have to use special purpose pieces of equipment and bulky and large devices such as helmets, goggles, etc. AR works perfectly on the most frequently used device, your smartphone. We also see the use of AR technologies during engineering design and servicing and repair of industrial equipment. Anti-counterfeit activities. Our university has developed the following method of using hard elastic polymers that reveal the protected information in multiple ways. So the film behaves as an elastomer. Even though it is rigid, it has some elongation. It becomes similar to elastomer, and then it becomes hard again. A case in point is the following. Some information is applied in various ways: thermotransfer ways, printing ways, etc. So you start pulling on that, and first you see the bars, then they disappear, then they reappear again. It can be a tag that has a transparent window. When you pull on that, when you pull on this tag, on this label, the barcode appears and it can be then read. It's impossible to counterfeit that because the know-how, it's absolutely all about the tag itself. This requires special technology, and you see the picture in the slide. At the same time, print electronics, print circuit boards are now a big thing. These are conductors, semiconductors, or images. Basically, it means that you can print an integrated circuit with printing technology. It can be a transistor. Thus, you can protect items with printed electronics. You can install sensors that will relay information regarding processes taking place inside the packaging, whether oxidation is taking place inside the packaging or not. These are the so-called smart products. This will imply the combination of polygraphic techniques and printed electronics, printed ICs. That would be it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your presentation. I'll now give the floor to, after the Polytechnique and the University of Moscow, I have the pleasure of giving the floor to the editor-in-chief of a trade magazine, trade journal. Her name is, the name of the magazine is Upakovka. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Welcome, Irina Volkova, you have the floor. Are you there? She's not there. So, is she there? Apparently, yes. Well, be as brief as possible. Thank you, because we have little time left. Thank you.
Ну, честно говоря, мне уже...
Well, frankly speaking, my turn has been cancelled, so okay, if you really want me to, I will deliver my presentation. I would like to quickly cover the situation in the Russian packaging market in 2019 and 2012. That has been the most challenging time for the manufacturers. There's been a decline and the profitability ratio is record low. So the prevailing of installed capacities for print and flexible packaging over the demand is so high that a number of companies may suffer financial difficulties. The best year for the economy is 2015, which was really a source of hope for the business. Due to the embargo and the weak ruble, the food industry has been seeing a very dynamic growth. The same could have be the case with the packaging industry if it hadn't been for the imbalance between the demand and installed capacities. Several years ago, a number of companies printing flexible packaging decided to purchase new printing machinery. The purchase of new equipment was so widespread that starting from 2016, as of today, Russia has seen over 50 wide roller machinery, piece of machinery of the higher price tier. So it's a very positive factor, but the older pieces of equipment normally are discontinued and decommissioned, but it was not the case in Russia. Most of these pieces of machinery were not scrapped. Instead, they were sold to small-sized regional companies that do not add any price stability in packaging tenders. The growth rates for packaging up to 2015 were evidently seen by the industry, but then there was a slowdown, and in subsequent years it was no more than 2 to 3%. In total, from 2016 to 2020, it grew by around 12%. In 2015, we saw a balance between the demand and supply, and there was a shortage of production capacities. The capacity of the market in 2016 accounted for around 420,000 tons. By 2020, it grew up to 470,000 tons, which amounts to around 140 billion rubles. So there is no more queue for printing, there is no more line. So the major part of companies are underloaded, operating in commodity markets. Yes, there are companies who have a significant footprint. As mentioned earlier, in Russia, over the period of 2016-2021, over 50 new pieces of wide roller printing machines made by European manufacturers W&H, Comexi, Soma, Bobst, Olstein, Uteco, Koenig, and Boyer were installed. Apart from that, a few high-capacity pieces of machinery were installed coming from Asia and Europe. They are not listed here. One printing machine per year can output around 1.5-2,000 tons of packaging, depending on the laminate structure. It means that all printing machines can produce around 100,000 pieces of packaging per year. You can manufacture around 530,000 tons, and the consumption is not higher than 460,000 tons. As a result, we see that the capacities outdo the demand. This is a huge indicator of imbalance that will be inevitably pushing the price levels on packaging down, thus reducing the profitability ratio. The profitability ratio of any company is influenced by the following factors: the raw materials price, the price of products for the end customer, the price of packaging. The price of packaging for the end customer is determined by the balance of demand and supply. In 2015, it favored the manufacturer, which helped to establish a comfortable level of prices. In 2020, the situation is quite on the contrary. Thus, a food company can always dictate their prices. There is always someone willing to work with them. The third item applies to the loans and leverage. During the growth rates and acceptable profitability ratio, it's all fine, but in a downward trend, the situation behaves unpredictably. Consolidation could be an improvement factor. Overall, Russia has around 120 companies printing flexible packaging. This includes higher tier machinery, and they take part in tenders held by large food companies. Narrow barrel roller pieces of machinery, several hundreds of them, and those who have one or two wide roller machineries of a lower class are not considered. Overall, these 120 companies are small private companies who have one or two printing machines. Such a fragmentation of the market does not favor proper competition among the participants, and as a result, everyone suffers. But the worst hit ones are the small players. We need consolidation. This favors the improvement of the situation, enables a company to work with an acceptable profitability rate, build long-term development plans, and avoid such imbalances between supply and demand. In Europe, the market was consolidated several years ago by transnational packaging manufacturers. Prospects of consolidation in Russia. The consolidation process will be a challenge, but it's quite probable. Barriers. Banking leverage, corporate culture and motivations are quite often different, and this renders the process even more complex. Financial resources for Russian marketplace are limited because the access to inexpensive loans available earlier is now becoming more difficult due to sanctions. Overall, regarding mid-size packages, the situation for them is not there. It's not dire. So they are holding up in one way or another. Some increase their leverage. Others receive financing from shareholders. But we can clearly see that the aggressive competition due to excess of capacity in the market and the overall decline of the profitability rate doesn't leave the players any strength ratio in crisis scenario in the economy. That would be it. I tried to make my best to make this in time. That's it.
Thank you very much to Irina Volkova. So let me give the floor to Director General Andrea Briganti for Acimga to close this very long event. You have the floor, Andrea.
Grazie a tutti.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your important contributions. It was very interesting and very rich in materials. We've tried to condense all this value, and it was inevitable that we were lagging a little bit behind in our timing. We're really sorry about that. We hope yet that this wealth of content was valuable to everyone. So thank you to all listeners and to all speakers. We'll meet again at the Future Factory 2021 in June. Well, we'll meet physically in Milan at the Miko Center, and it will also be web streamed, so everybody will be able to follow if they wish to do so. Thank you very much, and see you in the next Future.
Thank you once again. So this was the last leg of Future Factory 2020 for Future Factory 2021, 14th of April with a preview, 10th and 11th of June for the conference Future Factory 2021. On the website futurefactory.it you can find all information for the next events and for contacts with the companies affiliated with Acimga. Thank you for joining us.